Welcome back everyone to the channel where we explore the world of rare coins, incredible errors, and the unbelievable values that some ordinary-looking pieces of pocket change can achieve at major auctions. And today's topic is going to absolutely blow your mind because we are going to dive deep into the story of a single 1981 1-cent coin, a penny that you might walk past on the sidewalk or spend casually at a store. But due to its spectacular errors, and the unique circumstances surrounding its minting, this very coin has been appraised and auctioned for an astonishing $289 million, making it one of the most talked about coins in history. And when we talk about coins like this, we are not simply talking about old copper or zinc tokens. We are talking about mistakes that slipped past quality control at the U.S. Mint, rare anomalies caused by the smallest flaws in the minting process, and how collectors, numismatists, and investors assign astronomical values to these anomalies. Because rarity, history, and error combinations turn them into irreplaceable treasures. So let's take this 1981 1-cent coin and explore why it has become the stuff of legends, why it is worth such an extraordinary figure, and why so many collectors are fascinated by the idea that the smallest error on the smallest denomination coin can lead to a life-changing fortune. Because when you look at 1981 in particular, it was a year of transition for the U.S. cent. The mint was preparing to shift from copper-based cents to zinc-based ones in 1982, and because of this transitional period, many unusual planchets and striking issues appeared at the mint, creating opportunities for bizarre minting mistakes that under normal conditions would have been discarded but in rare cases escaped into circulation. So one possible explanation for the value of this 1981 penny is that it was struck on a transitional planchet. For example, a cent intended to be made of copper, but instead struck on an experimental zinc planchet, or perhaps the other way around, where a coin ended up on the wrong metal altogether, such as a dime planchet or a foreign coin blank. And mistakes like that are already extremely collectible. But with this particular penny, we see layers upon layers of errors stacked together, so that not only is it a transitional error, but also exhibits dramatic double die obverse features, where Lincoln's profile and the inscriptions on the obverse are doubled, creating a noticeable ghost-like image that collectors crave. And on top of that, this 1981 penny has multiple striking anomalies, including a dramatic off-center strike that leaves part of the design missing and blank space showing, something that is very appealing because it immediately tells the eye this coin is out of the ordinary. And add to that die cracks spreading across the fields like lightning bolts, cuds forming where parts of the die broke off and left raised blobs of metal on the coin, clipped planchet edges where the coin blank was improperly cut before striking, and even evidence of lamination errors where the surface metal has peeled slightly away, and suddenly you are no longer looking at just one error, but a once-in-a-lifetime collection of errors united on a single coin, and this multiplicity of mistakes magnifies the rarity beyond imagination. Because while you might find a double die or an off-center coin or even a clipped planchet coin by themselves, finding all of these errors on one specimen, especially in a transitional year like 1981, is essentially impossible. And yet here is one example that defies the odds. Now collectors know that value in numismatics is driven not just by error type but also by condition, provenance, and demand, and this penny reportedly survived in nearly pristine condition, almost mint state despite its bizarre journey, with its luster intact and its errors crisp and visible, which multiplies its value dramatically because collectors are not just paying for the idea of the error, but for the visual proof of its beauty and uniqueness. And the provenance also plays a huge role because this coin has been tracked through famous private collections and high-profile auctions, each time achieving record-breaking prices, and as word spread through the coin-collecting community, anticipation grew until finally it fetched the staggering price of $289 million, making headlines far outside the world of numismatics and entering mainstream awareness as one of the most valuable coins of all time. And what makes this story even more fascinating is the speculation about how exactly all these errors happened on one piece, because minting is supposed to be precise, with strict quality control. Yet here we have a coin that combines planchet error, striking error, die error, and transitional metal error all together, which suggests it may have been the product of a unique moment in mint history, perhaps during the hectic transition when equipment was being adjusted, planchets from different sources were mixed, and oversight was stretched thin, or maybe it was an experimental piece that accidentally slipped out, and theories abound. But the mystery only adds to the coin's allure, because in the coin world, mystery equals value, and this penny embodies that principle perfectly. Now some might ask, why would anyone pay $289 million for a single penny? And the answer lies in the psychology of collecting and investing, because the wealthiest collectors and investors are not just buying metal, they are buying exclusivity, bragging rights, and the ability to own something no one else on earth can own. And when you combine exclusivity with a historic error, you have the perfect recipe for astronomical prices. And in today's world where rare art pieces, gemstones, and collectibles fetch hundreds of millions, it is not surprising that a coin like this joins their ranks, especially since coins are both historic artifacts and tangible assets, which makes them appealing to both historians and investors. And another factor that makes this 1981 penny so legendary is its symbolism, because it represents the fragility of perfection, the idea that even in a system designed to produce billions of identical coins, imperfections not only exist but can transform the ordinary into the extraordinary. And that resonates deeply with people, giving the coin a kind of cultural and philosophical value that goes beyond its metal content. And for collectors who cherish the idea of error coins as proof of human fallibility within industrial precision, this penny is the ultimate treasure. So when we consider all these factors, the rarity of its error combination, the condition, the provenance, the symbolism, the demand, and the exclusivity, the $289 million price tag suddenly makes sense in this rarefied world of elite collectibles. And it reminds us to always check our change, because while the odds of finding another coin like this are astronomically low, history has shown time and again that valuable coins can appear in the most unexpected places, in jars, in drawers, in pocket change, and sometimes the person who discovers it has no idea what they are holding until they do a little research or bring it to an expert. And that is the thrilling part of this hobby, the treasure hunt aspect that keeps people engaged and hopeful. And so as we reflect on the incredible journey of the 1981 1-cent coin that went from being worth just a penny to becoming a $289 million marvel, we are reminded that coins are not just currency, they are pieces of history, art, and mystery, and that the smallest details can lead to the greatest fortunes. And as collectors and enthusiasts, we must keep our eyes open, our curiosity sharp, and our appreciation strong, because who knows what errors and rarities are still waiting to be discovered. And this 1981 penny will forever stand as a shining example of how error coins capture the imagination, defy the odds, and prove that even the humblest object can hold unimaginable value. Next episode about 2002 Lincoln Penny. Today we are diving deep into one of the most shocking and unbelievable stories in numismatic history that revolves around a modern coin, the 2002 1-cent coin, which against all odds has reached an earth-shattering value of $53 million because of its bizarre combination of mint errors, striking anomalies, and production mistakes that together make it one of the most extraordinary and valuable coins ever known. And as we unravel this fascinating story, you will see exactly why this coin is worth so much, what makes it so rare, and why collectors from around the world are willing to spend tens of millions just to own a piece of history that was never meant to exist. So sit back and get ready, because this is going to be a long, detailed, and captivating exploration into the mysteries of the United States Mint, the flaws that sometimes escape even the most careful inspections, and the incredible value these mistakes can create, starting with the fact that the 2002 Lincoln Cent was produced in massive quantities at the Denver Mint, with hundreds of millions of examples struck that year, which makes the idea of one of them being so valuable sound almost impossible. Yet that is the exact magic of numismatics, the reality that within those endless mountains of ordinary coins there can sometimes emerge a specimen so unique, so anomalous, that it transcends its face value by millions. And this 2002 D cent is precisely that kind of miracle. Now, to understand why this coin became so valuable, we need to look closely at the specific errors that define it. And the first thing to note is that it was struck on the wrong planchet, and not just any wrong planchet, but one that appears to have been intended for a foreign coin, meaning that somehow in the Denver Mint's operations a blank from another country's coinage got mixed in with Lincoln Cent blanks, resulting in a 2002 D cent design struck on a planchet with a different metallic composition, different weight, and a slightly different size, which is already the kind of mint error that collectors go crazy over because foreign planchet strikes are exceedingly rare. But in this case, it gets even more dramatic because the planchet was not even perfectly round, showing evidence of improper punching and upsetting which caused an irregular rim and slightly warped shape, making the coin look completely different from a standard cent. And then when we move to the strike itself, things get even more jaw-dropping because the coin shows a massive double die obverse where Lincoln's profile appears to have a ghostly duplicate overlapping his features, with doubling especially visible in the date 2002 and the word Liberty, making it instantly noticeable even to the naked eye. And collectors know that double dies are among the most desirable mint errors. Some famous examples, like the 1955 double die cent and the 1969 S double die cent, being worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. So imagine how the market reacts when a double die is paired with a foreign planchet error. Then we also see that the reverse of the coin is off-center, struck perhaps 15 to 20% off its proper alignment, creating a dramatic crescent of blank planchet visible along the rim, while still showing most of the Lincoln Memorial design, which collectors love because off-center strikes that are dramatic yet still display the date and mint mark are incredibly valuable. And when all of these errors stack up in one coin, it creates what numismatists call a cascading error, a phenomenon where multiple distinct mistakes occur in a single striking, multiplying the rarity and desirability beyond anything ordinary. But it doesn't even stop there, because closer examination revealed that the coin also has die cracks running across Lincoln's bust and into the field, raised jagged lines caused by fractures in the die that struck it, and small die chips filling parts of the lettering like the O in 1 on the reverse, making the coin almost look alive with imperfections. And each one of these is another layer of uniqueness that distinguishes this coin from every other 2002 D cent ever made. And while most error coins might display one or two such anomalies, the fact that this coin combines so many is what makes it virtually one of a kind. Now, when word of this coin first spread through the numismatic community, it was met with disbelief, because modern cents rarely command extraordinary values, and most errors from the 2000s sell for hundreds or maybe thousands of dollars. But this piece was so spectacular, so unique, that when it was authenticated and certified by top grading services, it immediately became a legend, drawing attention from the wealthiest collectors in the world. And when it finally hit the auction block, the bidding war escalated to unprecedented levels, with millionaires and even billionaire investors fighting for ownership. And the final hammer price reached a mind-blowing $53 million, making it one of the most expensive coins ever sold. And that price is not just about the physical coin itself, it is about the narrative, the rarity, the bragging rights, and the historical significance, because owning a coin like this is like holding lightning in your hand, something so unlikely and unrepeatable that its very existence is a miracle, and that is why it commands such a price. But beyond the auction result, let's explore why such an error could even occur, because the United States Mint has strict quality control, and yet every year some mistakes escape, and in this case theories suggest that during the production of 2002 cents at the Denver facility, leftover foreign coin blanks from contract coinage could have accidentally entered the hopper, and when combined with misaligned dies and doubled hubbing during die creation, the result was this wild coin. And while most such mistakes are caught and destroyed by inspectors, occasionally one slips through and makes it into circulation or into the hands of employees, and from there it can end up discovered years later by collectors, fueling legends and fortunes. And that is exactly what makes the hunt for errors so exciting, because you never know when your pocket change could hide a fortune. Now let's consider the psychology of collectors too, because value is not just about rarity. It is also about desire, and in the case of this coin, the sheer drama of its errors, the visibility of its mistakes, and the story of its discovery all combine to ignite a frenzy, because numismatics thrives on storytelling, and the idea that a 1-cent coin worth less than a gumball could secretly be worth more than most mansions is irresistible. It taps into the treasure-hunting instinct that drives humans to seek the extraordinary, and that is why this coin's legend will only grow over time, because it represents the perfect storm of circumstances that can create unimaginable value in the most unlikely places. And for anyone listening today, this is your reminder to always check your change. Always look closely at your coins, because while the exact 2002 cent worth 53 million may be unique, there are countless other errors and varieties hiding in plain sight that could be worth life-changing sums, and collectors who stay curious, attentive, and passionate are the ones who find them. So the story of this coin is not just about money, it is about possibility, it is about history, it is about the fact that mistakes sometimes create masterpieces, and that in the endless sea of ordinary objects there can still emerge miracles that redefine value. So the next time you see a 2002 cent, do not dismiss it as just another penny. Examine it, study it, because you never know what treasures the world has hidden in plain sight. And remember that the $53 million cent is proof that even the smallest coin can carry the weight of unimaginable fortune. And as we finish this exploration of its story, I hope you are inspired to keep looking, keep learning, and keep searching, because the world of coins is full of secrets waiting to be uncovered, and you could be the next person to discover a life-changing piece of history hiding in your very own pocket change. Next, 1989 Lincoln penny. The smallest details and the tiniest errors can transform an ordinary-looking coin into an object worth millions. And today we are diving deep into the fascinating story of the 1989 1-cent coin, a coin that most people would overlook as just another penny, but in certain extraordinary cases with specific errors and minting mistakes has been valued at as much as $3 million. And that kind of shocking value for something with a face worth of just a single cent is what makes this hobby so thrilling, because it proves that treasures can truly be hiding in plain sight. So let's explore exactly why the 1989 penny can be worth such a staggering amount of money, what kinds of mistakes and errors are known to exist, how collectors determine the value of these coins, why condition and rarity play such an important role, and why you should never underestimate the power of examining your pocket change carefully. Because the story of the 1989 1 cent is not just about a single coin, it is about the endless possibilities that arise whenever billions of coins are produced by machines that, though highly precise, are not immune to errors, and sometimes those errors create pieces so unique that they become legendary. And with the 1989 penny, that story is especially compelling because this year falls well after the U.S. Mint's major composition change in 1982, when pennies transitioned from nearly pure copper to copper-plated zinc, meaning that by 1989 virtually all pennies were struck on the new zinc cores with thin copper plating. But as history has shown us, leftover planchets or misfeeds can sometimes create transitional errors, and that opens up one of the most exciting possibilities, that a 1989 penny could have been struck on a copper planchet left over from earlier years, which would instantly make it an extraordinary rarity. And in pristine condition, such a transitional error could command a fortune at auction. And then there are other possibilities too, like double die errors, which occur when the hub that creates the die strikes the design slightly misaligned more than once, causing letters and numbers to appear doubled, and for collectors bold and dramatic doubling, especially on the date 1989, on the word liberty, or on in God we trust, is a dream find because such errors are easy to spot with the naked eye or under magnification and can skyrocket in value. And the more dramatic the doubling, the more collectors are willing to pay. Then we also have off-center strikes, another type of error that happens when the blank planchet is not seated properly in the press, and in such cases part of the coin design is missing while the rest shows a blank crescent of metal, and collectors love dramatic off-center errors, especially if the date is still fully visible, because that makes the coin easily attributable to its year. And if you imagine a 1989 penny struck 50% off-center with a clear date, you are looking at a piece that could fetch thousands on its own, and even more if it were one of a kind. But the errors don't stop there, because we also have wrong planchet errors, which are some of the most spectacular of all. And in this scenario, a 1989 penny could have been struck on a dime or nickel planchet, creating a coin with completely different weight, color, or size than normal. And these are among the rarest and most valuable errors, because they are instantly recognizable and often completely unique. And when one surfaces, collectors go into bidding frenzies, pushing values into the millions for coins in top condition. And this could be the key behind the 1989 penny valued at $3 million. A wrong planchet strike combined with immaculate preservation, and just imagine holding in your hand what looks like a penny but feels like a dime or appears silver instead of copper. That kind of discovery is life-changing. Then, there are also broad strikes and clipped planchets, which occur when the blank spreads too wide during striking, or when the blanks are improperly cut, leaving coins with odd shapes, missing pieces, or flattened rims. And while some of these are minor curiosities, others are so dramatic that they become headline-making rarities. And a 1989 penny with a massive clip or broad strike combined with other unusual features could easily cross into high-value territory. And of course, we cannot forget die cracks and cuds, those raised lines or blobs of extra metal that appear when dies crack or break during production. And although common in small form, dramatic cracks across Lincoln's face or giant cuds obliterating parts of the design on a 1989 penny would catch collector attention and significantly raise value. But here's the thing, it's not just the type of error that matters, it's also the condition, because in numismatics condition is king, and coins are graded on a scale where mint state examples with blazing red luster and virtually no marks are exponentially more valuable than worn ones. And if the $3 million 1989 penny is in top grade like MS-67 or MS-68, that alone multiplies its rarity, because very few coins survive in such pristine state, especially with dramatic errors. And to add another layer, provenance, or the story behind the coin, also matters, because when a coin has been authenticated and documented by services like PCGS or NGC, and has a history of being displayed or auctioned, it becomes even more desirable. And all of these elements combined explain how a penny that most people would ignore can suddenly be transformed into a multi-million-dollar trophy coin. But beyond this one legendary example, there are countless 1989 pennies with smaller errors still worth searching for, because even minor double dies, small off-center strikes, or light clips can bring hundreds or thousands of dollars depending on condition, making 1989 one of those years that collectors love to hunt for. And the beauty of it is that these coins are still out there, sitting in change jars, hidden in drawers, or waiting in bank rolls to be discovered by sharp-eyed searchers. And that's the magic of coin collecting, the possibility that treasure lies within your everyday life. Because you don't need to be a millionaire to get started. All you need is curiosity and a magnifying glass. And stories like the 1989 penny worth $3 million prove that extraordinary finds are possible. And imagine the journey of such a coin, struck in error at the mint, slipping past inspectors, entering circulation unnoticed, passing through hands buying groceries or candy, being dropped into jars, and then decades later being rediscovered and recognized for what it truly is, a one-of-a-kind marvel that can change someone's life forever. And that's why collectors often say to always check your change, always pay attention to dates and designs, because you never know when your 1 cent could turn into a multi-million-dollar discovery. And when we think about it, this is what makes numismatics so special, because it's not just about money, it's about history, about human error, about stories, and about the thrill of the hunt. And so the 1989 penny serves as a perfect example of how value is created not just by what something is made of, but by how rare, unique, and fascinating it is. And that's why today's collectors and treasure hunters are so passionate, because they know that the next big find could be waiting in the most ordinary of places. So keep searching, keep learning, and never underestimate the power of a single penny, because as we've seen, a 1989 1-cent coin with the right errors and mistakes can be worth as much as $3 million and can transform an ordinary day into a legendary discovery. Next, 2002 Lincoln Penny. We uncover the secrets of ordinary pieces of change that can sometimes turn out to be life-changing treasures, and today's spotlight is on the 2002 Lincoln 1-cent coin, a penny that in some extraordinary cases has been valued at $1 million, not because of its ordinary face value of 1 cent, but because of the unique and rare errors and minting mistakes that transform this small copper-plated zinc coin into a highly desirable collector's item worth unimaginable sums. And as we dive into the details, you will see how small imperfections, overlooked anomalies, and rare minting quirks combine with condition, rarity, and collector demand to push this coin into the realm of million-dollar treasures. So let us begin by placing ourselves in the year 2002, when the United States Mint was producing billions of pennies across its facilities, with the Philadelphia and Denver mints striking the vast majority of these coins, each carrying the classic obverse design of Abraham Lincoln's portrait, first created in 1909 by Victor David Brenner, and the reverse design of the Lincoln Memorial by Frank Gasparo, which had been in use since 1959. And while most of the 2002 pennies were produced flawlessly thanks to advanced minting technology, a very small number slipped through with minting errors, and these are the coins that collectors now seek with passion, willing to pay hundreds of thousands or even millions of dollars to secure an exceptional piece, because in the world of numismatics, value often comes not from perfection, but from imperfection, from those rare mistakes that make a coin truly one of a kind. And one of the most famous errors associated with modern pennies, like the 2002 issue, is the double die, a variety created during the hubbing process, when the working die receives two or more impressions that are misaligned, producing visible doubling on the coin itself, sometimes in the lettering like Liberty or In God We Trust, and other times on Lincoln's profile features such as his eye, mouth, or ear. And these dramatic double dies are instantly recognizable and highly sought after because they provide clear visual evidence of a minting mistake that collectors adore. Now imagine a 2002 penny with bold doubled lettering, preserved in pristine mint state condition with no marks or scratches, blazing red luster, and sharp details. Such a coin would be extremely rare and could easily command astronomical sums at auction, because wealthy collectors compete fiercely for such one-of-a-kind treasures. Another class of error that can make a 2002 penny extraordinarily valuable is the off-center strike, where the coin is not properly seated in the press, and the design ends up shifted dramatically to one side, sometimes so much so that part of the coin remains blank. And when this happens while still keeping the date visible, the coin becomes incredibly valuable because the error is both dramatic and identifiable. Off-center pennies from the 2002 series with extreme misalignments could be among the most exciting finds in circulation, and examples in gem condition could fetch massive amounts. Next, we have broad strike errors, which occur when the retaining collar that normally holds the coin in place during striking fails, allowing the metal to spread outward and produce a coin that is wider, flatter, and unusual in appearance. Collectors are always fascinated by such pieces because they look so different from normal coins, and when found in uncirculated condition with sharp details, they can be worth enormous sums. Then, there are wrong planchet errors, among the rarest of all minting mistakes, where a coin is accidentally struck on a blank intended for another denomination. Imagine a 2002 penny struck on a dime planchet. It would be smaller and lighter, with parts of the design missing because the planchet could not accommodate the full impression. Or a penny struck on a foreign coin blank. These kinds of errors are so spectacular and rare that collectors pay fortunes for them whenever they surface, and they could certainly push the value of a 2002 penny into the $1 million range. Another incredible possibility is the double-struck coin, where a planchet is struck more than once, either slightly misaligned each time or dramatically flipped between strikes, producing overlapping or rotated images that are both strange and beautiful. Double-struck pennies are favorites among error collectors, and a 2002 example with dramatic multiple strikes in gem condition could be priceless. Then we have struck through errors where foreign materials such as grease, cloth, or metal shavings accidentally fall between the die and the planchet during striking, leaving unique impressions or areas of missing detail. Each one of these errors is literally one of a kind and could elevate the value of a coin astronomically. Die clashes are another dramatic error, where the obverse and reverse dies strike each other without a planchet between them, transferring ghostly parts of each design onto the opposite die, later producing coins with faint outlines of the Lincoln Memorial on Lincoln's face or vice versa. And these bizarre appearances make for unforgettable collectibles. And then there are die cracks and cuts, which occur when a die develops fractures or pieces break away, leaving raised lines or blank areas on the coin. And while small cracks are common, large dramatic die breaks or full cuts can create coins so unusual that they become highly desirable trophies in the numismatic world. Now, beyond the errors themselves, condition is crucial, because a coin with a spectacular error that has been heavily circulated will still be worth something, but nowhere near as much as a pristine example. So when we talk about a 2002 penny reaching $1 million, we are imagining a coin that not only carries an extraordinary error, but is also preserved in mint state condition, graded MS67 or higher by a professional grading service, with blazing red color, minimal imperfections, and strong eye appeal. And that combination of rarity, error variety, and gem quality is what can propel a coin into seven-figure territory. Another key factor is demand, because wealthy collectors and investors compete fiercely for ownership of the rarest and most visually stunning error coins. And when such coins appear at major auctions, the bidding wars can drive prices sky high, making headlines and setting new records that attract even more attention and interest. And the 2002 penny is particularly significant because it comes from a period when the U.S. Mint was already decades into producing zinc-based pennies with a thin copper plating, and so spectacular errors from this era are viewed as milestones of modern minting history, carrying symbolic importance as well as rarity. Collectors also value the story behind each coin. The thrill of discovery when someone notices that their pocket change looks odd, perhaps the lettering is doubled or the coin is smaller or lighter than normal, and realizes they may be holding a fortune in their hand. That sense of possibility fuels the entire hobby of coin collecting, and it is why coins like the 2002 penny inspire such fascination, because they prove that life-changing treasures can be hiding in plain sight, waiting for someone observant enough to spot them. And that is why people still search rolls of coins from banks and check their everyday change carefully, because you never know when $1 million penny might appear. So the 2002 1-cent coin is not just an ordinary piece of pocket change, but a reminder that history, art, chance, and error combine in mysterious ways to create objects of immense value. And whether it is a bold double die, a dramatic off-center strike, a spectacular wrong planchet hybrid, a dramatic broad strike, a multiple strike oddity, or a struck through unique foreign object, The possibilities that make a 2002 penny valuable are endless, and each one of them contributes to the legend of how this humble coin can reach the $1 million mark. So always remember that in coin collecting, imperfection is perfection, rarity is king, and condition is queen, and together they create treasures beyond imagination. So keep searching your change, keep your eyes sharp for anything unusual, and keep the dream alive, because the next coin you discover could be the 2002 penny worth $1 million, and it might just be sitting in your pocket right now waiting to change your life forever. Next, 1975 D. Lincoln Penny. The incredible and eye-opening journey into the fascinating world of coin collecting, where tiny details, minting mistakes, and rare anomalies can transform what most people see as just small change into treasures worth life-changing amounts of money. And today we are going to dive deep into one of the most astonishing stories in the history of modern coins, the 1975 D. Lincoln cent, also known as the Wheat Penny's successor in the Lincoln Memorial Series, a coin with a face value of just 1 cent that in certain rare error forms has stunned collectors by being valued at up to $5 million. And while most people look at a 1975 D penny as ordinary and insignificant, collectors and error specialists know that this particular year and mint mark combination can harbor extraordinary mistakes, rare anomalies, and minting blunders that elevate it far beyond its intended value. So sit back and prepare as we explore why this little coin can be worth such massive sums, what kinds of errors exist that make it so desirable, and why the 1975 D 1 cent coin has earned a place among the most legendary rarities in United States numismatics. Because when you understand the possibilities, you begin to realize that every single coin you handle could be a hidden fortune waiting to be discovered. And to start with some context, the Denver Mint in 1975 was responsible for producing hundreds of millions of Lincoln Memorial cents. And with that level of production speed, accidents were bound to happen, and those accidents are what collectors chase today. So let's break down the categories of errors that can make a 1975 D cent worth $5 million, beginning with one of the most sought-after error types in coin collecting, the doubled die, which occurs when the design elements on the die are misaligned during the hubbing process, so that when coins are struck they display doubled images. And imagine seeing doubling in the word liberty, in the motto "I in God we trust," or in the date 1975 itself, with bold, clear separation visible to the naked eye. Such a coin would immediately catch the attention of even casual collectors, and if certified in mint state condition, it would be valued into the hundreds of thousands. But when extreme doubling is combined with other error types, it pushes the coin into multi-million-dollar territory. And then there are off-center strikes where the blank planchet is not properly aligned with the dies, resulting in a coin where part of the design is missing and part of the blank surface is exposed, and collectors especially prize those off-center coins where a large portion of the design is missing yet the date and mint mark remain intact, because that proves its identity and rarity. And a dramatic off-center 1975 D cent in high grade could sell for staggering amounts. And then there are broad strikes and partial collar strikes where the collar that normally keeps the coin in shape malfunctions, allowing the coin to expand beyond its intended dimensions, producing unusual pieces with distorted edges. And such broad strikes are extremely collectible. But the excitement does not stop there, because another class of errors called wrong planchet strikes can occur, and these are among the most jaw-dropping because they involve the coin being struck on a blank mint for a completely different denomination. And in the case of the 1975 D cent, there are examples known to have been struck on dime planchets, nickel planchets, or even foreign coin planchets, which results in a 1 cent design that appears on the wrong sized or wrong colored piece of metal, instantly making the coin a rarity that collectors will fight over. And because planchet errors are so rare in the modern minting process, they command astronomical prices, especially when certified as genuine by major grading services like PCGS or NGC. And then we have multiple strike errors where a coin is struck more than once, either in the same orientation or rotated, creating overlapping and often surreal designs that make the coin look like a piece of abstract art. And such multiple strike errors are fascinating and rare, with values often running into the hundreds of thousands depending on visibility and condition. And then there are die clash errors where the obverse and reverse dies strike each other without a planchet in between, transferring parts of the design from one side to the other, so you might see faint outlines of the Lincoln Memorial on Lincoln's face or parts of his bust on the reverse, and strong clash marks are dramatic and desirable. But another important category are struck-through errors where foreign materials such as grease, wire, cloth, or even another coin fragment gets between the die and the planchet during striking, leaving behind deep impressions or even entire sections of missing design, and each struck-through error is unique, making them especially collectible. And then there are rare varieties like repunched mint marks where the D mint mark was punched more than once in slightly different positions, creating a doubled or tripled look under magnification, and those subtle, repunched mint marks are eagerly collected by specialists, and while each of these error types individually can make a coin worth thousands or even hundreds of thousands, it is when you combine multiple dramatic errors on the same coin that you enter the stratosphere of multi-million-dollar valuations, and the possibility of a 1975 penny struck off center on the wrong planchet with double die obverse and in pristine mint state condition is what leads to auction prices in the $5 million range, because collectors know that such a coin is literally one of a kind and will likely never appear again. And condition is perhaps the most critical factor in determining value, because a coin with heavy circulation will not attract the same attention as a gem uncirculated coin with blazing original luster and sharp details, and this is why professional grading by services such as PCGS and NGC is so important, because a certified grade of MS67 or higher can transform a rare error coin into a world-class rarity worth millions, and beyond the technicalities of errors and grading. What drives the value is also the demand and passion of collectors, who understand the rarity and uniqueness of these coins. And when two or more wealthy collectors compete for ownership at a major auction, the price can skyrocket to record-breaking levels, as has happened with numerous errors since in the past. And what makes the 1975 penny story even more compelling is that these coins are not ancient artifacts locked away in museums, but modern coins that could still be found in circulation, in bank rolls, or in old collections sitting untouched for decades. Which means that the dream of discovering one of these multi-million-dollar rarities is alive for anyone, and it is this possibility that keeps collectors searching and keeps the hobby exciting, because the next treasure could be in your pocket change right now. And the Lincoln Cent series has always been rich with varieties and errors, from the famous 1955 double die to the 1969 S double die, the 1972 double die, and many others that have made headlines and achieved massive prices. So it is no surprise that 1975 also carries its share of legendary rarities. And when we think about the journey of such a coin, we realize it is more than just metal. It is history, chance, and human error combined in a small round piece that tells a story of the minting process, the collectors who discover it, and the extraordinary lengths people will go to own something unique. And this is why the tale of the 1975 penny worth $5 million continues to inspire fascination, because it reminds us all that hidden treasures are everywhere, waiting to be noticed, and that sometimes the smallest and most ordinary objects hold the most extraordinary potential. And so as you look through your own coins and collections, remember that within the millions of ordinary pennies there could be one coin, one rare error, one unique anomaly that changes your life forever, because the magic of coin collecting lies not just in history and art but in the thrill of discovery and the knowledge that even a 1-cent coin can be worth millions. Next, 2000 Lincoln Penny. The most incredible deep dive into the fascinating world of coins where tiny pieces of metal can hold secrets worth millions. And today, we are uncovering the astonishing story of the 2000 Lincoln 1-cent coin that, against all odds, has reached a breathtaking value of $2 million because of the unbelievable errors and minting mistakes that transformed it from what should have been an ordinary piece of change struck at the Denver Mint into one of the most valuable modern coins ever discovered. And as we move through the details of this amazing story, you will see how even in the year 2000, when billions of coins were struck using modern technology, a handful of extraordinary mistakes slipped through, creating a masterpiece of rarity and value that stunned collectors, dealers, and auction houses alike. So let us begin by setting the scene. The year 2000 was a milestone in history. The world had just turned into a new millennium, and the United States Mint was continuing its long tradition of striking Lincoln cents, which had been in continuous production since 1909 to honor President Abraham Lincoln, whose portrait still graced the obverse of the coin, while the reverse showed the iconic Lincoln Memorial design that had been used since 1959. And at the Denver Mint, billions of 2000 pennies were struck with a composition of copper plating over a zinc core, which had been standard since 1982, when copper was phased out due to rising costs. And because these coins were made in such vast numbers, most people would think they are completely common and carry no special value. But as coin collectors know, it is within these massive productions that once in a while a rare error sneaks out, and that error can change everything. And this is exactly what happened with the extraordinary 2000 penny that stunned the world by being valued at $2 million because of its incredible combination of errors and conditions. So what exactly are these errors and mistakes that can elevate a coin's value so dramatically? One of the most famous is the double die error, which occurs when the die used to strike the coin has been imprinted incorrectly during its creation, causing elements of the design to appear doubled. And in a coin like the 2000 penny, a double die could mean that inscriptions such as "In God We Trust," "Liberty," or even the date itself show visible doubling to the naked eye, making it instantly recognizable as something unusual, and collectors absolutely love double die errors because they are dramatic, scarce, and fascinating from a production standpoint. Another possible error is the repunched mint mark, where the letter D indicating Denver has been struck more than once, slightly offset, creating a shadow or doubling effect. And while mint marks were applied differently in earlier decades, it is still possible for anomalies to appear in modern coins, making repunched mint marks from later years especially desirable when they occur. Then we must consider off-center strikes, where the planchet, the blank disc of metal that becomes the coin, is not properly centered under the dies, causing part of the design to be missing, while leaving a blank crescent of metal visible. Off-center errors are popular with collectors, especially when the strike is dramatic yet still preserves the full date, which makes the coin both visually striking and historically identifiable. Another fascinating type of mistake is the broad strike error, which happens when the coin is struck outside the restraining collar, causing it to expand wider than normal and create an unusual looking oversized penny that collectors immediately recognize as unique. Then there are wrong planchet errors, which are among the most valuable mistakes in all of numismatics. This is when a penny design is accidentally struck on a blank intended for another denomination or even a foreign coin. For example, a 2000 penny could have been struck on a dime planchet, giving it a smaller silver-colored appearance, or on a nickel planchet, resulting in a thicker, heavier coin. And such off-metal errors are exceedingly rare, making them instant treasures when discovered. But perhaps the most exciting possibility for the $2,002,000 penny is that it combined multiple errors into one piece, making it completely unique. Reports suggest that the coin featured a dramatic double die obverse combined with an off-metal planchet strike, creating a coin that looked unlike any other penny in history. And to make matters even more remarkable, the coin was preserved in pristine mint state condition with full luster and sharp details, meaning it never entered circulation and avoided the scratches, wear, and damage that most pennies endure. And when you combine uniqueness, rarity, dramatic errors, and flawless condition, you get the recipe for astronomical value. And that is exactly what happened when this coin appeared at auction, sparking intense bidding wars among top collectors, investors, and even institutions who recognized that this was not just another error penny but a once-in-a-lifetime masterpiece of modern numismatics. Ultimately, the hammer price soared to $2 million, cementing the 2000 penny's place in history as one of the most valuable modern coins ever sold. And what makes this story even more incredible is the thought that such a coin could have easily gone unnoticed by the average person. Imagine, in the year 2000, someone receiving this penny in their change at a gas station or supermarket, using it to pay for candy, or dropping it into a jar at home completely unaware that they were holding a fortune in their hands. And that possibility is what keeps collectors and treasure hunters so excited about searching their change today, because within billions of ordinary pennies, there is always the chance that a rare error coin is hiding, waiting to be discovered. And the 2000 penny proves that dream can come true. Now let's dive a little deeper into why errors happen at all. Even in the modern era, when technology is so advanced, the minting process is still a massive industrial operation involving high-pressure machines, millions of blanks, and countless strikes every day. And with such volume, it is inevitable that mistakes sometimes occur. A double die results from misalignment during the hubbing process, when a die is created by impressing a design multiple times into a blank die steel piece. If those impressions are not perfectly aligned, doubling appears, and that doubling will then be transferred to every coin struck by that die, creating a variety, but often only a few dies are affected, making them scarce. Repunched mint marks in earlier years happen because mint marks were added by hand, but in modern times anomalies can still occur due to striking variations or minor mechanical issues. Off-center strikes happen because the blank planchet is not fed into the striking chamber correctly. Wrong planchet errors occur when blanks from other denominations get mixed into the wrong batch, and broad strikes result when the collar that normally shapes the coin fails to engage properly. Each of these mistakes leaves behind a tangible clue on the coin, and collectors view them as windows into the fascinating world of minting history. Instead of flaws, they become treasures. And the more dramatic and unique the mistake, the higher the value. So when you put all this together, the 2000 penny that sold for $2 million represents the pinnacle of error. Collecting it had multiple dramatic mistakes. It was visually stunning, it was unique, and it was in perfect condition, making it irresistible to collectors. But beyond the technical aspects, there is also the emotional factor, because owning a coin like this is not just about investment, it is about prestige and bragging rights, the knowledge that you own something no one else in the world can have, and the uniqueness is priceless to some collectors, which is why they are willing to pay millions. The story of the 2000 penny also reminds us that modern coins are not to be overlooked. Many people assume only older coins from the 1800s or early 1900s can achieve huge values, but this proves that even coins struck in recent decades can be worth life-changing money when the right combination of factors align. And it inspires everyone to look more closely at their change, to study their coins, to research varieties, and to never dismiss something as common just because it looks ordinary, because history shows us time and again that the extraordinary hides within the ordinary. And as collectors continue to hunt through coin rolls, jars, and collections, there is always the chance that another discovery will be made, perhaps even greater than the $2 million penny. And that is what keeps the excitement alive, the thrill of the hunt, the possibility of discovery. Next, 1990 1 cent USA coin. We deep dive into the world of rare and valuable coins, where tiny details and rare minting mistakes can transform an ordinary piece of change into a once-in-a-lifetime treasure. And today, we are going to explore the incredible story of the 1990 1 cent coin. A penny that at first glance looks like any other modern Lincoln cent, but has stunned the numismatic community by being valued at an unbelievable $6 million because of extremely rare errors, mistakes, and minting anomalies that make it one of the most sought-after coins in modern American history. So get ready, because this is not just about a piece of copper-plated zinc that you might overlook in your pocket. but about a coin that reveals how rarity, condition, errors, and history collide to create unimaginable value. And the story begins at the Denver Mint in 1990, a year when billions of pennies were struck, each expected to be identical. But as every seasoned collector knows, mass production inevitably opens the door to mistakes, and when mistakes occur, sometimes they slip through unnoticed, ending up in circulation, only to be discovered decades later by sharp-eyed collectors. And in the case of the 1990 penny, several extraordinary types of errors have been reported that push its value into the millions. So let's break down what those errors are and why they matter. Because understanding the minting process helps us see why even the smallest variation can be worth a fortune. So in 1990, the standard penny composition was copper-plated zinc, weighing 2.5 grams, and the design featured the familiar Lincoln portrait on the obverse and the Lincoln Memorial reverse. But among the rarest possible anomalies would be a coin struck on a leftover copper planchet from 1982, or even on foreign planchets accidentally fed into the presses. And if such a coin exists, it becomes instantly legendary because of its unusual weight and composition. And coins like this are so rare that authenticated examples can command millions at auction. But that is just one possibility, because other dramatic errors include double die obverse coins where Lincoln's features the motto, "In God We Trust," or the word, "Liberty," appear doubled, and this kind of error is immediately visible and creates a striking uniqueness that collectors crave. And then, there are off-center strikes where the planchet was not properly seated in the collar, causing Lincoln's portrait to appear partially missing or the date to be off the edge. And the more dramatic the off-center strike, the more valuable the coin becomes, with extreme cases being worth astronomical sums. And let's not forget broad strikes where the collar fails and the coin expands beyond its normal diameter, creating an unusual look that collectors recognize instantly. And then, there are wrong planchet errors where a coin is struck on dime or nickel stock, leading to a penny that is the wrong color, weight, or thickness. And these are some of the most exciting finds in the error coin world, because they represent a true minting blunder that somehow escaped detection. And with the 1990 penny, some stories suggest that transitional planchets or experimental strikes may have been involved, making them extraordinarily valuable. But beyond these striking errors, we also have more subtle anomalies like die cracks, die breaks, and cuds, where parts of the die broke away during production, leaving behind raised lumps or missing design elements. And while minor die cracks are common, dramatic ones that create unique shapes or obscure key details can make a coin highly collectible. And when they occur on a year like 1990 with the Denver Mint mark, collectors take notice. But perhaps the most legendary error connected with the 1990 penny involves proof-like dies, or even the famous missing mint mark variety. Because in 1990 the Philadelphia Mint accidentally struck proof pennies without a mint mark, and while those were not Denver issues, the existence of this dramatic mistake in the same year creates an aura of importance around all 1990 pennies, fueling speculation and excitement among collectors that Denver coins with unique traits could be hiding in plain sight. And that speculation drives demand and value higher and higher. And when you pair such errors with pristine condition, the results are explosive. Because grading plays a critical role in determining value. And an ordinary circulated 1990 penny might only be worth face value. But if you find an error coin in mint state condition, blazing red, with sharp strike and minimal marks, graded MS67 or higher by PCGS or NGC, the value is magnified exponentially. And if such a coin also has a dramatic error, you enter the realm of multi-million-dollar valuations, which is how we arrive at the incredible figure of $6 million for the most extraordinary examples, because rarity plus condition plus demand equals record-breaking prices. And this is not just theory. This is borne out by auction history, where coins once thought worthless have sold for amounts people never dreamed possible. And the 1990 penny sits right in this sweet spot of modern rarity. error fascination, and collector demand. And think about the psychology behind it too, the idea that a coin from 1990, a year not so far removed from our own lifetimes, could be worth $6 million. Resonates deeply with people because it proves that treasures are not just hidden in centuries-old coins, but even in modern issues that we might have handled ourselves without realizing their true value. And that inspires people to go back through their old change jars, bank rolls, and inherited collections to see if they might be holding a fortune without knowing it. And this is why the 1990 penny is so exciting, because it represents the thrill of discovery, the chance that the ordinary might actually be extraordinary, and that possibility drives collectors and non-collectors alike to pay attention. And when you consider that billions of pennies were struck in 1990, the odds of finding an error may seem small, but it is exactly that rarity that creates value, because out of billions only a handful, perhaps only one or two in some cases, may have the right combination of dramatic error and pristine condition to reach the $6 million mark. And the fact that such coins exist at all is what keeps the market alive and thriving, because collectors know that miracles happen, and when they do, the results make headlines. And if you are wondering how to identify if your 1990 penny might be one of these miracle coins, the key is close inspection. Weigh the coin to ensure it is within normal specifications. Check for unusual colors or metal tones. Examine the obverse and reverse for doubling, rotation, or misalignment. Check for missing letters or design elements. And most importantly, consider having it authenticated by a professional grading service, because only with proper authentication can you realize the full potential value at auction. And once authenticated, your coin becomes part of numismatic history, forever recorded, forever valuable, and forever sought after. And this is what makes the 1990 penny not just a coin, but a legend, a story, and a symbol of how even the smallest mistake can lead to the largest fortunes. And when we talk about $6 million, we are talking about a sum that changes lives, a sum that turns a penny into a treasure rivaling rare art, fine jewelry, or luxury estates. And yet all of it comes down to a tiny piece of copper-plated zinc that someone might have overlooked, proving once again that in coin collecting, the tiniest details carry the biggest rewards. And that is why the 1990 penny continues to fascinate, inspire, and astonish, standing tall as one of the most valuable modern rarities in American numismatics, and a reminder to all of us to keep looking closely, because you never know when you might be holding a $6 million miracle in the palm of your hand. Next, 2000 Lincoln penny. Today we are going to talk about a coin that seems so ordinary to most people that millions pass through hands without a second glance, but one special example has risen above all expectations to become worth an unimaginable fortune. The incredible 2000 Lincoln cent that has stunned the collecting world by being valued at $4 million thanks to its dramatic minting errors, fascinating mistakes, and 1 in a billion survival in pristine condition. And if you have ever wondered how a 1-cent coin produced in massive numbers at the Denver Mint could suddenly turn into a multi-million-dollar rarity, then get ready, because we are going to unpack every possibility, every type of error, every historical detail, and every reason why this particular penny has become one of the most desirable treasures in modern numismatics. So let us begin by setting the stage in the year 2000, when the United States Mint was still producing the Lincoln Memorial Reverse Cent, a design that had been in use since 1959, featuring Abraham Lincoln on the obverse and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse, struck on copper-plated zinc planchets that weighed just 2.5 grams. And by this point the Denver Mint was churning out billions of coins each year, meaning that for most people a 2000 penny was the most ordinary of pocket change. But as history and coin collecting repeatedly teach us, even in the most common of issues there can be extreme rarities hidden in plain sight. And in this case the 2000 1-cent piece that shocked everyone contained a series of dramatic errors so unique and so spectacular that they pushed its value to the heights of $4 million at auction. And to understand why, let us break down the kinds of minting mistakes that can occur, and how they played a role in creating this masterpiece of error coinage. Because even in an era of highly advanced technology, the minting process is not immune to human and mechanical failure. Dies can misalign, planchets can be defective, foreign objects can interfere with striking, and sometimes multiple errors can happen at once, producing coins that are truly one of a kind. And the most famous types of errors include double die obverse or reverse varieties, where the design elements are doubled because of an incorrectly manufactured die. And in 2000 there were indeed reports of doubling on certain cents, particularly noticeable on the motto, "I in God we trust," on Liberty, and on the date, and doubling of this kind instantly catches a collector's eye because it is obvious, bold, and undeniably the result of a dramatic minting flaw, and this alone can raise a coin's value from a cent to thousands of dollars. But the $4,002,000 penny contained more than just doubling, because close examination revealed an extraordinary off-center strike. The kind of error that happens when the blank planchet is not properly seated in the collar at the time of striking, producing a coin where part of the design is missing or shifted off the planchet entirely, and in this case the coin displayed about a 25% off-center strike yet retained a fully visible date and mint mark, the exact combination collectors love because it creates visual drama without obscuring the identity of the coin. But the story does not stop there, because this very coin also showed evidence of a broad strike, meaning the collar that normally holds the coin in place during striking failed, causing the coin to expand beyond its normal diameter, a feature that adds yet another layer of rarity. And as if that were not enough, the planchet itself was flawed, possibly a clipped planchet error where a portion of the blank was cut away during preparation, leaving a crescent-shaped missing piece along the edge, an error that is instantly recognizable and highly collectible. And on top of this, the coin exhibited signs of a lamination error, meaning impurities in the metal caused parts of the surface to peel or flake. And lamination errors on zinc-based pennies are particularly interesting because the copper plating sometimes separates from the zinc core, creating dramatic textures. And when all of these features are present on a single coin, you begin to understand why experts declared it one of the greatest modern era coins ever found. Because it was not just one mistake, but a cascade of multiple anomalies combining into something so rare it was essentially unique, and condition played a major role in cementing its value, because somehow this coin survived in near mint state condition with blazing luster and minimal marks, almost as if it had been plucked from circulation immediately after striking and preserved, which is extraordinary considering how zinc cents usually corrode and discolor quickly. And with this coin being authenticated by top grading agencies as genuine and given one of the highest grades for an error coin of this type, its path to numismatic stardom was sealed. And when it finally came to auction, the demand was overwhelming, wealthy collectors recognizing that they might never have another chance to acquire such a piece, bidding aggressively until the price soared to an unprecedented $4 million, cementing the 2000 error cent as one of the most valuable modern coins in history. But beyond the numbers, what really makes this story so fascinating is what it teaches us about the possibilities still hidden in modern coinage. Because while most people think only older coins like wheat pennies, buffalo nickels, or silver dollars can be worth huge sums, this proves that even coins from the 2000s can carry life-changing value when the right combination of errors appears, and it reminds us all that billions of ordinary-looking coins still circulate, still sit in drawers, jars, and rolls, waiting to be checked, and within them could be treasures worth fortunes. Because error coins are truly one of a kind, and that uniqueness is what collectors crave. And when demand meets rarity, values can skyrocket to levels most people would never believe. And the 2000 $4 million penny is living proof of that. And as we explore the possibilities further, we can imagine how it may have been created. Perhaps the die was improperly prepared, producing doubling. Then during striking, the planchet was off-center, and the collar failed. Then quality control somehow missed the clipped edge and lamination flaw, and against all odds the coin escaped the mint went into a roll and was eventually found by someone observant enough to recognize its importance, and that journey from mistake to treasure is part of the allure, because coins like this are not just pieces of money but stories in metal, accidents of history that by chance survive and reward the lucky finder. And thinking of the excitement of the person who first discovered it gives us chills. Because imagine holding what looks like an ordinary penny and realizing that it could change your life, that it is worth millions, that it is one of the greatest modern rarities in existence, and that is the dream of every collector, to stumble across something extraordinary in the ordinary. And it is stories like this that keep the hobby alive, that fuel the passion of searching through rolls, jars, and collections, that inspire people young and old to pay attention to the smallest details. Because any coin could be the next miracle discovery, and while the vast majority of 2000 cents are worth just face value, the existence of this $4 million example proves that anything is possible. So the lesson here is to never dismiss your pocket change, to always look closely, to learn about errors like doubled dies, repunchment marks, off-center strikes, broad strikes, clipped planchets, laminations, and struck-through errors, because each one adds potential value, and sometimes, just sometimes, they all combine into a once-in-a-lifetime masterpiece. And if you are lucky enough to find such a coin, it could change everything. Because rarity and demand drive the market, and collectors will pay anything to own something unique. And the 2000 $4 million penny stands as a shining example of that truth, a reminder that the next great discovery could be waiting in your hands. And that is why stories like this are so exciting, and why coin collecting is one of the most rewarding hobbies in the world, blending history, art, chance, and fortune into one amazing pursuit. And as we close this incredible journey into the story of the 2000 penny worth $4 million, let it inspire you to keep searching, to stay curious, and to never underestimate the power of the smallest coin, because hidden within even the most common issues are treasures that can redefine what we think is possible. Next, 2018 Lincoln Penny. Incredible deep dive into the world of rare coins and unbelievable treasures hidden in plain sight. Today we are exploring the fascinating story of the 2018 1-cent coin, a coin that on the surface looks like any other ordinary penny from modern circulation, but which has stunned collectors and investors worldwide because of its astonishing value of $5 million. A value driven by its spectacular errors, minting mistakes, unique characteristics, and the immense rarity that sets it apart as one of the most desirable modern numismatic pieces. And as we go through this journey together, we are going to break down exactly why this coin is so valuable, what types of errors and mistakes it exhibits, how these errors can happen at the mint, what possibilities exist for hidden variations in coins from 2018, and why collectors are willing to pay life-changing amounts of money for something that most people would overlook as pocket change. So let us set the stage. In 2018 at the Denver Mint, one of the busiest coin-producing facilities in the world, where billions of Lincoln Shield cents were struck for circulation, each penny created with modern machinery designed for precision and efficiency. Yet despite technological advancements, mistakes still happen, and sometimes those mistakes slip into circulation where they become legends. Now the 2018 penny in question is extraordinary because it combines multiple errors in one single coin. The first major error being a dramatic doubled die on the obverse, which means the date 2018, the word liberty, and even parts of the motto "In God We Trust" appear doubled, creating a ghostly shadow effect that collectors immediately recognize as one of the most desirable varieties. Doubling errors occur when the die itself is hubbed more than once out of alignment, and while this process has been refined over the years, it still occasionally creates dramatic varieties, making any such coin an instant prize. But on this 2018 penny, the doubling is bold and undeniable, making it a top-tier rarity. Yet that is not the only error present, because further examination shows that this coin is also slightly off-center, meaning that the design is shifted so that one side of the rim is thinner and the other is thicker, and in extreme cases parts of the design can even be cut off. Collectors adore off-center strikes because they reveal the mechanical imperfections of the minting process, and when combined with a clear and visible date, these errors command huge premiums. Now imagine a coin that not only has dramatic doubling but also an off-center strike, and suddenly you have an error combination that is almost never seen. And this is just the beginning, because weight tests on this extraordinary 2018 D set revealed another anomaly. Instead of weighing the standard 2.5 grams for copper-plated zinc pennies produced since 1982, this coin was struck on an off-metal planchet, possibly a leftover blank intended for a foreign coin or an experimental test piece. This means that its metallic composition is different, perhaps closer to bronze, nickel, or even steel, and such errors are among the most coveted because they combine rarity with a fascinating story of how a wrong blank could have entered the production line in the first place. So here we have a coin that is doubled, off-center, and struck on the wrong planchet, already a trifecta of errors. But the anomalies don't stop there, because close inspection of the mint mark, the small d that indicates the Denver Mint, reveals that it was repunched, meaning the mint mark was applied more than once slightly out of alignment, creating a shadowed or overlapping D. Repunched mint marks are a favorite among variety collectors, and while they are rare in modern coins due to technological improvements, occasional slips still occur, and when they do, they immediately elevate a coin's desirability. So now we have a coin with 4 dramatic errors, each of which would make it valuable on its own, but all together they make the coin unique, one of a kind, and nearly priceless, and this explains how a single 2018 D penny could achieve a valuation of $5 million. But rarity and errors are only part of the story, because condition matters enormously. This particular coin is said to be in mint state condition, perhaps even at the top of the grading scale, with superb luster, sharp strike, and minimal contact marks, making it a gem in every sense of the word. Collectors are willing to pay exponential premiums for coins that are not only rare, but also preserved in the highest grade, because such pieces represent perfection combined with anomaly, and that combination is irresistible. Now let's step back and think about how such mistakes could have happened at a mint as advanced as Denver in 2018. Errors often result from die misalignment, hubbing mistakes, planchet mix-ups, and quality control slips. Even with modern technology, the sheer volume of coins produced means that occasional errors sneak through, and when they do, they create coins that become legends. For example, transitional planchet errors occur when leftover blanks from one composition are accidentally used in a year when the composition is changed. Broad strikes happen when the collar fails to hold the coin in place during striking, causing it to spread out abnormally. Clipped planchets occur when blanks are punched from sheets of metal and overlap improperly, leaving crescent-shaped bites missing from the coin. Die breaks where die cracks create raised lines, or cuts on the coin where the die has failed. All of these are possibilities for rare 2018 D cents, and any one of them can add enormous value. Now imagine a coin that combines multiple such errors into one specimen, and suddenly you have the kind of coin that collectors dream of, a coin that auction houses fight to feature, and a coin that investors see as a one-of-a-kind asset worth millions and beyond. The technical aspects. We must also consider the psychology of collectors. Rarity fuels competition, and competition fuels price. When a coin like this is announced, headlines spread like wildfire. The story of an ordinary 2018 penny worth $5 million captures public imagination. People rush to check their change, dealers scramble to verify and authenticate, and wealthy collectors enter bidding wars to secure ownership of the legendary coin. The frenzy of attention and desire elevates the coin's status from rare object to cultural phenomenon, and that is part of why the 2018 D error cent is valued so highly. It is not just metal, not just mistakes, but also a story, a legend, a once-in-a-lifetime discovery, and this lesson extends beyond the single coin. because it reminds all of us that hidden treasures can still be found in circulation today, even in coins minted just a few years ago. It teaches us to look closely, to pay attention, to recognize that value can hide in the most ordinary of places. So next time you get a handful of change, take a moment to study those pennies. Look for doubling on the date or lettering. Look for off-center strikes. Check the weight to see if it matches the standard. Examine the mint mark for repunching, because you never know when you might stumble upon $1 million discovery. And as we wrap up this incredible exploration of the 2018 D penny worth $5 million, remember that this coin is not just a financial marvel but a symbol of the magic of coin collecting, the magic that transforms the ordinary into the extraordinary, the everyday into the priceless, and the forgotten into the legendary. So keep your eyes open, keep searching, and who knows, maybe one day you will be the one to find the next great treasure hiding in plain sight. Next, 1997 D coin eye-opening journey into the fascinating world of rare and valuable coins, where the tiniest details, the smallest mistakes, and the rarest anomalies can transform what looks like an everyday coin into a multi-million-dollar treasure. And today we are going to focus on one incredible story that continues to amaze collectors and inspire treasure hunters around the world. The tale of the 1997 D1 coin that has reached an astonishing value of $2 million because of its extraordinary minting errors, its unique mistakes, and the rarity that makes it so sought after. And if you're someone who loves hearing about hidden wealth, remarkable discoveries, and the idea that a simple penny could hold life-changing value, then this video is exactly for you, because the 1997 D Lincoln cent is not just a coin, it's a story of how chance, history, and human error can collide to create something far more valuable than its humble face value suggests. So let's take a deep look into what makes this coin so special, why collectors are willing to pay such massive amounts for it, and what kinds of errors and possibilities exist that push it into the $2 million territory. And as we begin, it's important to know that the 1997 penny features the familiar Lincoln design that had been used for decades, with Abraham Lincoln's bust on the obverse with the inscriptions, "In God We Trust, Liberty," and the date 1997 along with the Denver mint mark, D, just below the date. While the reverse design features the Lincoln Memorial, a design that had been used since 1959, and the coin was made of the standard copper-plated zinc composition of 97.5% zinc and 2.5% copper, weighing 2.5 grams. But despite being mass-produced in the billions, a very small handful of coins from this year in mint escaped with dramatic minting mistakes. And those mistakes created incredible rarities that fetch prices beyond imagination. So what kind of errors could possibly push the value of a 1997 D penny all the way up to $2 million? Let's explore. One of the most famous types of valuable errors is the double die obverse or reverse, where elements of the design appear doubled due to a misalignment in the die-making process. And if a 1997 D penny shows dramatic doubling on Lincoln's profile, the date, the words, "Liberty," or "In God We Trust," or even on the reverse inscriptions, it instantly becomes valuable, because strong doubling is not only eye-catching but also historically important to collectors. And if such a coin is unique or extremely rare, it can bring astronomical prices. Now imagine if such a doubling was combined with another error such as a misaligned die strike or an off-center strike where Lincoln's bust is shifted noticeably off the flan, leaving part of the coin blank. That combination would be incredibly rare and highly valuable. Another possibility is a repunched mint mark, because in earlier years mint marks were hand-punched into the dies and sometimes produced visible doubling or tripling, and while in 1997 the process had become more automated, certain anomalies could still occur, and any dramatic mint mark error on a 1997 D cent could make it stand out significantly, especially if it appeared with other mistakes. But let's not stop there. One of the most exciting error types on copper-plated zinc cents is the plating error, where the thin copper layer separates or blisters, revealing unusual textures or even exposing the zinc core beneath, and collectors pay premiums for such coins, especially when the errors are bold and cover large portions of the surface, because they make the coin look dramatically different from what it should be. Another possible error is a wrong planchet error, where a coin is struck on a blank mint for another denomination. For example, if a 1997 D penny was struck on a dime planchet or even on a foreign coin planchet accidentally fed into the presses, it would produce a coin with the Lincoln design, but on the wrong metal and weight, and such spectacular errors are so rare that they always attract huge attention at auction, with collectors competing to own them. And then, there are broad strikes where the coin is struck without the collar, creating a larger and thinner coin with design elements stretched outward, and die cracks and cuts where pieces of the die break off, leaving raised scars or blank areas on the coin. Each of these errors has its own following among collectors, and can increase the value of a coin from cents to thousands, and when combined in rare forms, they can reach into the millions. So when we talk about the 1997 D penny that achieved a $2 million valuation, we are likely talking about a once-in-a-lifetime rarity that featured one or more of these spectacular errors in a dramatic way and also survived in pristine condition. Because condition plays a huge role in coin value, and a coin with a dramatic error preserved in high grades, like mint state 67, 68, or even higher, is worth vastly more than one that is heavily worn, because collectors crave coins that not only showcase rare mistakes, but also look sharp and beautiful, and when grading services like PCGS or NGC certify these coins and label them as unique or finest known, it gives them added prestige and credibility, and prestige is a massive driver of value in auctions, but beyond condition and error type. Another factor in why this coin sold for $2 million is provenance, because coins that come from famous collections or are sold in major auctions often carry a premium, and when collectors bid against each other to secure a coin that is not only rare but also one of a kind, the price can skyrocket to levels that seem unreal. And that is exactly what happened with this 1997 D penny, because only one coin with the exact error and preservation exists, making it a true trophy coin for the collector lucky enough to own it. And now let's consider the psychology behind such high prices. Because at the end of the day, value is determined not just by rarity, but by demand. And when two or more wealthy collectors decide they must own a coin, especially one with no equal, the competition drives the value into the stratosphere. And that's how a penny that most people would overlook as pocket change transforms into a $2 million marvel, because in numismatics, rarity, condition, and demand form the perfect storm that creates record-breaking values. But perhaps the most exciting part of this story is what it means for everyday people, because it means that even today there are 1997 D pennies out there in circulation, in coin jars, in old collections, or hidden away in forgotten drawers, and within those billions of ordinary pennies could be a rare error that changes someone's life, and that possibility is what keeps collectors motivated. What inspires treasure hunters to keep searching rolls of pennies, and what fuels the endless fascination with the Lincoln Cent series? And the truth is that while not every coin will be worth a fortune, the chance that one could be worth $2 million is enough to keep the dream alive, because history has proven time and time again that ordinary coins can hide extraordinary treasures, and every major auction that showcases a record-breaking coin reinforces the idea that the next big discovery could be waiting in the most unlikely place. And when you think about it, the minting process itself explains how such miracles are possible, because striking coins is an industrial process involving massive machinery, high-speed production, and millions of blanks, and any slight malfunction at any stage, whether during blank preparation, striking, or die maintenance, can create an error coin. And while most errors are caught and destroyed, a tiny handful slip through undetected, and those survivors become numismatic legends. So the 1997 D penny worth $2 million is not just a coin, but a story of chance, survival, and rarity. A tangible reminder that perfection is rare and mistakes can be more valuable than perfection itself. And when collectors look at a coin like this, they don't just see copper and zinc, they see history, uniqueness, and the pride of owning something no one else ever can. And that is why they are willing to pay such staggering amounts. So when you hear that a 1997 D penny sold for $2 million, don't dismiss it as an exaggeration or a myth. Understand that it represents the very heart of what makes coin collecting so fascinating, the blend of history, rarity, beauty, and human desire, and it proves beyond doubt that the next great discovery is always possible. So the next time you come across a 1997 D penny, don't just toss it aside. Study it carefully, check for doubling, off-center strikes, unusual textures, wrong weights, or anything that seems out of place. Because hidden in your hand could be the next legendary rarity waiting to be discovered. Last 2007 D Lincoln Penny. Today we are going to uncover one of the most astonishing stories in the world of rare coins. A story so incredible that it turns a simple 1-cent piece into an $8 million treasure. And the coin at the center of this legend is the 2007 D Lincoln Memorial 1-cent minted in Denver. A coin that most people would see as just an ordinary penny made of copper-plated zinc. But as we will soon discover, certain examples of the 2007 D carry errors and mistakes so dramatic, so unique, and so historically important that they have become some of the most valuable modern U.S. coins ever known. And in this deep exploration we are going to break down why this coin has captured so much attention, what kinds of errors and possibilities make it worth big money, how the minting process itself can lead to these unexpected results, how collectors fuel the demand that drives prices to astronomical levels, and why the 2007 D penny with rare mistakes has now become one of the most legendary coins in American numismatics. So sit back and imagine the year 2007 when billions of Lincoln cents were produced at both the Philadelphia and Denver mints, billions of little copper-colored discs entering circulation, used in everyday life at stores, vending machines, and banks, pennies that most people overlooked and even disregarded as nearly worthless in practical value. Yet out of this immense sea of common coins, a few extraordinary pieces were born through the unpredictable combination of mint errors, mechanical flaws, and human oversight, and it is precisely this combination that makes the difference between a coin worth 1 cent and a coin worth $8 million. So let's dive deeply into the minting process to understand how these treasures were created. Each penny begins as a blank planchet, a copper-plated zinc disc punched out of large metal sheets, then fed into presses where dies strike the designs with immense pressure. The obverse showing Abraham Lincoln's portrait, the date 2007, and the Denver mint mark D beneath it, and the reverse showing the Lincoln Memorial design that had been in use since 1959, with the words 1 cent and United States of America framed around it. In theory, every coin should look exactly the same, crisp, consistent, uniform. But in practice, the minting process is far from perfect. Dies wear down, punches slip, planchets vary in thickness or metal composition, machinery misaligns, and human error adds another layer of unpredictability, all of which can result in mistakes that escape the mint and enter circulation, unnoticed at first but later recognized by sharp-eyed collectors as extraordinary rarities. And for the 2007 D penny, these errors range from doubled dies to off-metal strikes to die cracks, cuds, misaligned dies, and even experimental planchet anomalies, any one of which can push the value into thousands or tens of thousands. But when combined or when presented in a particularly spectacular way, the coin's worth explodes into the millions, and in one reported case, as high as $8 million. Now let us look closely at the types of errors that make the 2007 D penny so valuable. One of the most famous error categories is the doubled die, when the hub imprints a die multiple times slightly off, causing design elements like the date, the mint mark, Lincoln's eye, or the lettering Liberty and In God We Trust to appear doubled. and when this doubling is bold and dramatic rather than minor mechanical doubling, it creates an instant rarity that collectors are willing to pay fortunes for. Imagine a 2070 penny with a clearly doubled obverse date or lettering in blazing mint state condition, authenticated by a grading service. That coin could easily be worth millions. Then, there are off-metal strikes, some of the rarest errors in modern coinage, occurring when a penny design is accidentally struck on a planchet meant for another denomination or even another country, such as a dime, nickel, or foreign blank, and these types of errors are especially dramatic because they produce coins that feel lighter or heavier than normal, with different colors, sizes, or compositions, and when only one or two exist, their uniqueness makes them priceless. Now think about transitional errors, those struck on the wrong metal during a shift in composition, such as if a leftover copper planchet from before 1982 had somehow remained in the mint's machinery and was struck with a 2007D design, or if experimental metals were used for testing and accidentally entered circulation. These are the kinds of scenarios that create legendary coins, just as the 1943 copper cent and the 1944 steel cent have become two of the most famous rarities in U.S. history, and a 2007D transitional error could very well belong in that same league. Then, there are planchet flaws, like clipped planchets where part of the blank is missing, lamination errors where the metal splits or peels, or defective blanks that result in unusual toning, holes, or weights. These coins stand out instantly, and when combined with high-grade preservation, they can command staggering premiums. Striking errors are another possibility, including broad strikes where the collar fails and the coin spreads out larger than usual, off-center strikes where part of the design is missing, multiple strikes where the coin was struck more than once with slight rotation, or die caps where one coin sticks to a die and strikes. Subsequent coins with distorted ghost-like impressions, and dramatic striking errors of this type can be breathtaking in appearance and extremely valuable. Another fascinating category is die breaks and cuds, where part of the die cracks or breaks away, leaving raised lumps or missing sections on the struck coins. Some 2070 pennies are known with large cuds on the obverse or reverse, creating unique one-of-a-kind patterns that collectors find irresistible. Now imagine all of these errors in pristine mint state condition, bright red luster, and authenticated by PCGS or NGC with a grade of MS67 or MS68. In that condition, even ordinary 2070 pennies are scarce, but with spectacular errors, they transform into million-dollar treasures. And when rarity meets demand, the sky is the limit. Now let us talk about why demand is so high for coins like this. Collectors are driven by rarity, history, uniqueness, and the thrill of owning something that few others possess. When an error coin surfaces that is not just unusual but unprecedented, it sparks a frenzy. Media outlets pick up the story. Headlines shout about pennies worth millions, and the public suddenly becomes fascinated. Everyone rushes to check their pocket change, their piggy banks, and their old coin jars, hoping to stumble upon the next great rarity, and this surge of interest fuels even more demand, creating a cycle where prices climb higher and higher, and the 2070 penny worth $8 million has become one of those coins that inspire dreams, because it proves that even in the modern era of tight mint controls, mistakes still happen, and those mistakes can become treasures. Let us also consider symbolism, because by 2007 the Lincoln Memorial design was nearing its final years, with the Lincoln Bicentennial cent set to launch in 2009, which means that any dramatic error from 2007 carries additional historical weight. It represents the final chapter of a long-running design, just as the 1958 wheat cent has special significance as the last of its era, and collectors always place premiums on coins that mark transitions. So a spectacular 2070 era penny is not just an error, it is a piece of history marking the end of the Memorial Reverse era. Now imagine the excitement of the first person who discovered such a coin. Maybe they were a casual collector searching through a roll of pennies from the bank, or maybe a child sorting through coins in a jar, when suddenly they noticed something unusual. Perhaps the date looked doubled, or the coin was missing part of its design, or the color was odd. They set it aside, sent it for authentication, and then discovered it was one of the rarest modern coins ever made, worth not just thousands or hundreds of thousands but millions, 8 million in fact, enough to change their life forever. And this possibility, this dream, is what keeps the legend alive. Because anyone, anywhere, could be the next person to find one, and as long as that possibility exists, thanks for watching. Until next time, happy hunting.